Hey guys, welcome to Whispers of Charleston. My name is Savannah. Today we're going to do the Irish in Charleston. The English expedition that established their first Carolina settlement stopped at Kinsale County, Cork, Ireland to recruit Irish servants, but did not meet with much success. To many Catholic Irish, the Americas were a place of banishment from where no one ever returned. Nonetheless, some Irish, especially Protestants, did not come to the early colony. As the colony grew in the 18th century, Charlestown attracted more Irish immigrants. John Rutledge came to practice medicine. Two of his sons, John and Edward, would be prominent South Carolina politicians and signers of the U.S. Constitution and the Declaration of Independence, respectively. The 18th century also saw a large influx of Scots-Irish settlers to the South Carolina's interior and more established businesses in Charleston. Most settled on the upper part of the peninsula were instrumental in founding the Second Presbyterian Church in 1809. One of those founders, James Edgar from County Antrim, was a merchant on Upper King Street, though later he moved south abroad to a house on Meeting Street. He earned a fortune in shipping and banking, and today North and South Edgar's wharfs remind us of his success. After the War of 1812, Charleston's Irish community became increasingly Catholic. Poor Irish Catholics came to work on the South Carolina Railroad as well as on the docks as ditch diggers. Other workers as artisans or merchants. By 1820, the Vatican felt it had to establish a diocese. It sent out John England, who began work on a cathedral, which he would name St. Finbarr's in honor of the patron saint of Cork, now the Cathedral of St. John the Baptist. The Great Famine in Ireland of 1845 to 1850 brought more Irish to Charleston, more than 32,000 in 1860, representing 8% of the total population and 14% of the white population. Indeed, the Irish influx in the 1850s helped make Charleston a majority white city in the 1860s for the first time since the early 1700s. Housing conditions in the Irish neighborhoods were, to put it mildly, not the best. One visitor to the streets near the Cooper River commented that conditions there were worse than in the slums in New York City. In response, churches organized temperance societies, militias such as the Irish Volunteers and the Montgomery Guards, and festive occasions such as St. Patrick's Day, providing opportunities to celebrate their ethnicity. Irish population's efforts, such as the Friends of Irish Independence, attracted a number of prominent Charlestonians. The fact that most Irish were Democrats made them sound on the slavery issue and thus acceptable in Charleston's politics. In return for votes, the Irish received city contracts and positions on its city's police force. The Irish rallied to the Confederate cause after the firing on Fort Sumter. They had, however, been reluctant secessionists. 2 units of Irish volunteers served with distinction in the Civil War. One of these units were inside Battery Wagner on Morris Island during the famous attack by the African-American 54th Massachusetts Infantry. In July of 1863, Irish served in another Charleston units, including the first crew of the USS Hunley. After the war, Irish veterans and civilians participated in Reconstruction politics and, for the most part, opposed radical Republicans and equality for African Americans. The Irish also participated actively in the Lost Cause, unveiling a memorial to the Irish volunteers in St. Lawrence Cemetery next to Magnolia Cemetery in 1878. Following the war, the Irish community in Charleston shrank rapidly. Freed African Americans took the place of many Irish workers on the docks, and new immigrants stopped coming to South Carolina. There was far more opportunity in the rapidly industrializing Northeast and Midwest. What remained was a Irish American community that saw itself as among the oldest first families of the Carolinas. In 1911, John Patrick Grace, grandson of Irish immigrants, became mayor and set about modernizing the city. He played a major role in seizing control of the docks from private controls, thus starting the what would become the South Carolina State Ports Authority. After 2 non-consecutive terms as mayor, he spent much of his later career pushing for a bridge to link Charleston with Mount Pleasant. For his efforts, the bridge would be named in his honor and would be opened in 1929 and torn down in 2005 to make way for the new Arthur Ravenel Bridge. With the onset of the Great Depression after 1929, many Irish organizations and St. Patrick's Day Parade disappeared. Only the Herbarian Society, with its dinner on St. Patrick's Night, remained by the late 1930s. Recently, however, the Irish American community has reconstructed an interest in its culture. Groups tied to national organizations such as the Ancient Order of Hebraeans and Ladies' Ancient Order of Hebraeans have been reorganized, while new groups such as the South Carolina Irish Historian Societies have been founded. Irish organizations have been contributed to the construction of an Irish memorial in Liberty Square Park next to the South Carolina Aquarium, a fitting recognition of the long and important Irish presence in Charleston. So the Hebraean Society in 1799. The Hebraean Society was founded in 1799 and reorganized in 1801. King Street merchant and society founder James Adger is credited with bringing back a piece of the Giant's Castaways, a volcanic formation on the north coast of Ireland, which still sits on the portico of the Hebraean Hall. The Hebraeans were founded by mostly Protestant Irishmen, but they were very ecumenically in electing the local Catholic priest, Father Simon Flex Gallagher, pastor of St. Mary's, as the president. They also used a non-sectarian symbol of the harp and shamrock in their emblem, which is prominent above the door of the Hebraean Hall. Because of this early enouncement, ECUMENISM, religious tensions between Irish Catholics and Protestants were never high in Charleston. In fact, Jewish members have been included since the 1800s. Memberships have also been, however, restricted to men only. The Hebraean Hall, a National Historic Landmark, was built in 1840s to provide a meeting place for the society. The hall is the only extinct building associated with the National Democratic Convention of 1860, one of the most critical political assemblies in the nation's history. Hebraean Hall was the only building in Charleston designed by architect Thomas U. Walter of Philadelphia. Walter's designs included the iconic pediment that collapsed in the earthquake of 1886 and was replaced by a Corinthian pediment and a center circular arched window. Christopher Werner, one of the Charleston's foremost ironworks, is responsible for the hall's gates. The Hebraean Society continues to meet regularly, alternating every 2 years between a Catholic and Protestant president. The hall serves as the location for many events, including an annual St. Patrick's Day celebration, society balls, and other social occasions. The society continues to contribute to more than 300 scholarships to the College of Charleston and the Citadel. Alright, and that is it for the Irish, and then we'll be on to the Roman Catholics in Charleston. And I hope y'all enjoy that, and thank y'all for listening. Alright, have a good one. Bye, y'all.